Leonid Brezhnev died in November 1982. The ailing KGB chief, Yuri Andropov, succeeded him. Andropov was frightened by SDI and Reagan's anti-Soviet speeches. Convinced that the West was plotting war, Andropov ordered a worldwide alert. The KGB monitored every aspect of life in the West.
The banking system was to be closely watched, as were the hospitals and road-building programs. Were the banks attempting to convert their system to a war footing? Were hospitals preparing new beds and setting up blood banks for massive numbers of wounded?
The Americans stepped up spy flights in sensitive areas along the Soviet Union's long borders. Aircraft packed with electronic surveillance gear looked like civilian airliners and often flew close to passenger routes.
In this period, 81, 82, and especially 83, how did it feel on the front line? Well, we were flying more often as there were more spy planes provoking us. We were in a constant state of tension.
On August 31st, 1983, a South Korean airliner, KAL Flight 007, with 269 people on board, left Anchorage for Seoul. The Boeing 747 strayed from its normal route into Soviet airspace.
I received a phone call informing me that an unidentified plane had been spotted over Kamchatka and that our attempts to contact it had been unsuccessful. I ensured that all the forces at our disposal were immediately put on alert. I said, take all measures, so that it is either forced to land on Sakhalin, or, if it will not cooperate, shoot it down.
I could see 2 rows of windows which were lit up. I wondered if it was a civilian aircraft. Military cargo planes don't have such windows. I wondered what kind of plane it was, but I had no time to think. I had a job to do. I started to signal to him in international code. I informed him that he'd violated our airspace. He did not respond.
Despite the signals from our planes, including warning shots with tracers, the pilot failed to react, simply continuing on his course.
My orders were to destroy the intruder. I fulfilled my mission.
The Korean airliner came down off Sakhalin Island, killing everyone on board.
The United States reacts with revulsion to this attack. Loss of life appears to be heavy. We can see no excuse whatsoever for this appalling act.
We came to the conclusion that we simply needed to be honest and admit an unfortunate incident has occurred. There was a pilot error, bad weather. One thing led to another. It was not a pre-planned action. No one wanted this. It was a tragic mistake. We went to Kornienko, the Deputy Foreign Minister, who agreed with us. But he was not able to convince the leadership. This was a question of prestige, and the military don't like to admit mistakes.
A mood of crisis now gripped both East and West. Arms control talks were broken off. Soviet SS-20 rockets were now confronted by cruise and Pershing missiles deployed in Western Europe. The Soviet leadership believed a nuclear attack by the West was imminent. A British agent inside the KGB sent warnings to London.
When I told the British, they simply couldn't believe that the Soviet leadership was so stupid and narrow-minded as to believe in something so impossible. I said to them, "Okay, I'll get you the documents."
I think only a tiny handful of people knew the full details of how fearful they were, and we knew them, as is now public knowledge, through some extremely well-placed agents who were able to pass on the information that the Russians actually feared that the West was preparing for aggressive nuclear war against the Soviet Union.
Allied and domestic concern rose.
Good evening. Please be seated.
Reagan tried to reassure Andropov.
Just suppose with me for a moment that an Ivan and an Anya could find themselves, say, in a waiting room or sharing a shelter from the rain or a storm with a Jim and Sally, and there was no language barrier to keep them from getting acquainted. Would they then debate the differences between their respective governments? Or would they find themselves comparing notes about their children and what each other did for a living?